welcome to the Tartan Premier League preview and prediction show. The Premier League is back. It's been ages. Well, 3 months, but to me, 3 months is ages. But I'm pleased to have it back. I'm pleased to have this show back and enjoy doing it. And this is the show where we take a look at the upcoming Premier League fixtures, try and guess what we think the score is going to be, have a little discussion. And this is a show I'd like to see you guys get involved as well. So don't be shy. In the comments below, copy and paste the 10 Premier League fixtures. Give me your score predictions. But it's a bit of a difficult weekend, isn't it? It's the hardest weekend to predict, the opening weekend of the Premier League, because there's not really much to help us. We've got players we've never heard of participating in the league for the first time. We've got 3 new teams coming up who have most of the players that we've never heard of playing in the Premier League for the first time. We've got a new manager at Spurs. There's no form. We've got no idea. However, I've got something that's going to help me out for this prediction show. Vibes. I've got vibes. That's what I'm basing my predictions on. But I've also got a few random facts as well for throughout the show. For example, did you know the 2 games between Crystal Palace and Chelsea last season both ended 1-1? But you didn't know that. You don't get that stuff anywhere else other than here on Tartan Geo. So if you like some random facts and vibes, please do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. It's completely free. And also do drop a like on the video as well by clicking the thumbs up button. As I say, if you enjoyed the video, I think I possibly put a few people off. If your team's playing in the Premier League this weekend, click the thumbs up button. There you go. That should get me some likes. Right then, Liverpool against Bournemouth, Friday night football. We're kicking off with the big one. It doesn't matter what fixture was on Friday night. I was going to describe it as a big one anyway. But here's a random fact for you. Bournemouth have never lost on the opening weekend of a Premier League campaign. 7 games, won 3, drawn 4. I kind of knew that because West Ham have been on the receiving end of it a couple of times. Other random fact for you. The only player in West Ham's current squad that scored a hat-trick at Upton Park was Callum Wilson, and he's never played a game for West Ham. Other random fact. Where else do you get that information other than here in Tartan Geo? Okay, let's get serious for a minute. Liverpool, Bournemouth. I was surprised when having a little look to learn that last season the games finished 3-0 and 2-0 to Liverpool. Not that Liverpool won, but that it feels uncompetitive that Bournemouth didn't score a goal against Liverpool. I would have expected them to have done so. But I think they're going to do that on Friday. Liverpool certainly seem to be going towards a new style of play, which is going to be a little bit more open, trying to score more goals, naturally. But with Verts in the team instead of McAllister or Szoboszlai is going to make the midfield a little bit more open as well. Their fullbacks with Kerkez and Frimpong, they're going to be getting high and wide a lot. So I think Liverpool will concede at Anfield on Friday night against Bournemouth. But I still think they'll win the game. It's hard not to see past them. Saying that, at this point, I'm all for predicting Liverpool to win practically all 38 games. Now, that will vary over the course of the season with injuries and form and whatnot. But right now, Liverpool could be playing anyone on Friday night. And I'd be on this show saying Liverpool are going to win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win in that one. I think Bournemouth... See, I don't like this transfer window being open when the season starts. I don't like it because a lot of clubs haven't finished their business yet. And Liverpool are one of them. But Bournemouth especially, you know, Kerkez up against his former club is one of them. But Zabarny, Housen has left. They've got Diakite in from Lille. He's only just joined. Is he going to be ready for this game? I'm unsure. It feels like Bournemouth have still got a lot of their business to do. But yet, the Premier League campaign is getting underway. I don't like this crossover thing. It should shut and then the season starts as far as I'm concerned. Moving on to the Saturday lunchtime game. We've got Aston Villa against Newcastle. I mean, this is a tasty fixture, isn't it? This is a tasty fixture. Last season, this was 5th v 6th. These were Champions League contenders last season. And they actually played a couple of seasons ago in the opening game of the season when it was that weird period. Newcastle thumped Villa. Then Villa went and thumped someone. I want to say Brighton might have been involved. So Villa received a hiding from Newcastle, went and dished one out to Brighton. Then Brighton went and dished one out to Newcastle. All in like very quick succession at the start of the season. Villa Park, though, won 5 of the last 6 head-to-heads at Villa Park, Aston Villa have. They've got a good home record against Newcastle recently. Now, I don't really buy in much to the historic data because I always think it's different managers, different players. I mean, when we start looking at Everton, it's a different ground. But I've got to fill the show up with something other than just vibes, haven't I? I can't just sit here say, oh, I think this score, because why not? But saying that, Aston Villa pre-season look like they've been a bit sharp. I think there's a lot to be said at this point for the teams who haven't got too many new signings, and most of the starting 11 will be the players that were here last season. Aston Villa, I think it's very possible they start the full 11 were at Villa last season. Only Gassand has arrived. I don't think it's unfair to assume he may be on the bench and he'll start Malin, Rodgers, who looks like he's fit, and McGinn or something, with obviously Watkins up front, who's been in fantastic form in pre-season. So I'm going to say Villa 2, a very disrupted Newcastle 1. I'm going to sprinkle an extra prediction in here. Watkins is bagging. Right, off down to Brighton taking on Fulham. Both of these teams were both teams to score kings last season. The percentage of games that seen them score and concede, Brighton and Fulham were at the top, 71% of games apiece. Also, Fulham just don't draw. I think it's been the last 18 Premier League games at the end of last season did not have one draw in it. So you know what's happening on Saturday, don't you? 0-0. That one's coming up because I've mentioned they score loads of goals and they don't draw games. 0-0 incoming. The reality is, I think Brighton are a bit half and half. I think there's going to be quite a lot of signings at Brighton, but you might find most of them on the bench to start with and being integrated into the team. With Fulham, got no signings to integrate, have they? They don't have anything to worry about. Be interesting to see if Josh King, who's been playing pre-season, continues to play now the competitive games are getting underway. Now they're expected to sign Kevin, spend big money on that Brazilian winger, but for now, they've got to go with what they've got. And I hope King does get his opportunity in that number 10 role. It'll be interesting to see if he takes it. Mooney's is halfway out the door at Craven Cottage, I think. I think he's said his goodbyes, although the move isn't officially confirmed yet to Atalanta. So that's, a player down for Marco Silva. There will be times over the course of the season where you think he's a bit biased. Now, I try my best not to be, okay? I try. And if you ever think I am biased towards a team or a player or against a team or a player, not Man U, you're not allowed to point that one out. I am biased against Man United. So what? I'm aware of it. I own it. The reason I bring this up is I think I may be guilty of being biased towards Brighton. I'm a big Brighton fan. That doesn't sound right. I'm not going to be sat here with my blue and white rattle next week, getting an inflatable seagull or something. That's not happening. What I mean by that is I'm a big fan of how Brighton are conducting themselves. I expect them to have a good season, a big season. So as a result of that, I'm going to say the goals continue to flow for Brighton. Scored a lot last season, conceded a lot. I think that's going to continue. Brighton 2, Fulham 1. Moving on to Spurs, taking on Burnley. Scott Parker up against his former club as gaffer this time round. Spurs obviously just had that game against PSG, which I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it until about the 80th minute, and then Spurs did a Spurs, and I enjoyed the last closing stages of the game in the penalty shootout. However, I must concede, Spurs looked decent. They looked organized. It was a Thomas Frank team. You could have put them in a Brentford strip. It was like watching Brentford, watching that Spurs game against PSG, with the three at the back against a superior team, using the long balls, time wasting when they could. It was like watching Thomas Frank's Brentford in a Spurs kit. And I think that will be very efficient in the Premier League a lot of the times. Burnley, they have an advantage that they're playing Spurs after a midweek European game, essentially. Thomas Frank would have liked this to be on Sunday, I think, but I'm not sure that disadvantage is going to be enough to tilt the advantage towards Burnley. It's hard for me to see Burnley doing much on Saturday. I think it'll be two cautious teams. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, but I'm going to go Spurs 2, Burnley 0. Speaking of low-scoring games, I'm sticking with that team as I head to the Stadium of Light as it's Sunderland against my team, West Ham. I think that stadium's going to be loud. It's going to be absolutely rocking. I like the business Sunderland have done. But apart from the African Cup of Nations, when Sunderland are going to lose quite a few players, I think the best time to play Sunderland is at the start of the season, when most of the team that starts are going to be good new signings. The goalkeeper's going to be new. The three midfielders are going to be new. I think it's possible that I think they might start Leafy, but it's possible that the striker and the right winger's new, and then 3 of the back 4's new as well. So you might only find like 2 players starting played for Sunderland last season. There's got to be a bit of a bedding in process, a few teething problems perhaps for Sunderland. I'm hoping that's the case. I think the way we play under Potter away from home will work. I think it'll be quite bland. I think it'll be quite boring. But I think what it might do is just suck the atmosphere out of Sunderland Stadium quite early. Just keep it boring, keep it simple, don't make mistakes. And I think first and foremost, Potter's plan will be to keep a clean sheet. And I think he might manage it. My prediction for this one, sorry Sunderland fans, there's a lot of Sunderland subscribers on here. You've been very kind to me so far. You know my thoughts on your club. But for this one, Sunderland 0, West Ham 1. Jared Bowen. I think we're going to have a Jared Bowen moment. Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. It's off to the Molineux as Wolves take on Manchester City. And I've written something down and I cannot read it. Since 2018, when Wolves returned to the Premier League, Wolves have only won 1 of their last of 20 August matches. There you go. How about that for a random fact? 1 of 20 games in August. Wolves do not like playing in August. There you go. We've established that. But I think that's maybe an example of change, because Wolves have changed their manager in the summer at times. They have changed their players. They've lost some important players and replaced them. With Man City, it's I'm expecting a season of change there as well. With Pep Blinders, it's an important appointment that Guardiola changing some of his more prominent members of his backroom staff. That's quite key and quite pivotal. Wolves, I've not been impressed by their summer business. They've struggled in pre-season as well. Their results haven't been too great. City tend never to have a good pre-season. Pep was, when he first rocked up, was a bit like anti-pre-season games. He'd only have like 3 because he believed in sort of rest, if you like, giving players maximum time off. It feels a bit different around City this summer. Because they've lost that title to Liverpool, it feels like they're coming back this summer with a bit of vengeance. I think you might see that on Saturday. I'm going to go Wolves 0, Manchester City 2. Moving on to Sunderland's game. We've done that one, Gio. Sunday's game, Chelsea against Crystal Palace. Got a fun fact for you. Did you know last season both of these games finished 1-1? There you go. I think that might continue actually, not necessarily the scoreline, but the outcome. Goals being scored. Chelsea were very, very good at Stamford Bridge last season. A 71% win rate at Stamford Bridge. The 3rd best team at home. Crystal Palace, though, good team, good manager. A lot of disruption at the minute. Big question marks over Gay and Eze. But right now, at time of recording, they're both still there. Therefore, I expect them both to be playing on Sunday afternoon at Stamford Bridge. Now, a lot can happen in the next 3 days before that game. But with the assumption that them two are playing, because they're quite key men here, I think Chelsea, at some point, the Club World Cup's going to hit them, I think. Is it now, or they're going to have a bit of a slow start, or is it they're going to start quite quick and they're going to be fine? But once they hit that busy schedule around December time, is that when they're really going to feel it? I rate Chelsea, but I also rate Crystal Palace. I'm just going to go down the middle on this one. I'm going to go for Desmond. Chelsea 2, Crystal Palace 2. Nottingham Forest against Brentford. This is a hard one to call, because Brentford have had a lot of change, but they've actually had an alright pre-season. 4 friendlies, 1-2, drawn 2, unbeaten in pre-season. However, a lot of change. But they weren't playing in Bournemouth pre-season. They weren't playing Norgard. They weren't playing Worcester. They've been either already left or left out of pre-season. So their whole preparation's been around having the likes of Thiago, Carvalho, Damsgaard. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. And I actually think this fixture's an alright one for Keith Andrews, because Nottingham Forest have been stinky in pre-season. They haven't won a game. I think they've scored 1 goal in 7 in pre-season or something like that. That is not good. Now, pre-season counts for very little. I can agree with that. Prime example, West Ham under Avram Grant won every game pre-season and got relegated. Simple as that. But I think if you ain't scoring goals in pre-season, I think that's got to be a bit of a concern. And I think Forest have still got to do a lot of their transfer business. They're heavily linked to James McAtee. They're being linked to Southampton's Fernandes right now. So I like some of the business they've done. They've just not done enough of it. With Brentford, feels, I was going to say stable, but how can I say stable? They've lost their captain, the two front men. Well, one's, I'm assuming Wissa's not involved at the weekend. It's a difficult one, this one. I'm going to say Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 1. Not really a bad result for either team, but also not a good result for either team. I think Andrews is going to need to get his first win quickly here. I think that's important. Then up to Old Trafford. They're treating us, aren't they? Man U, Arsenal. Not quite the fixture it was a few years ago, but I tell you what, Man U turn up in these big games. Arsenal haven't always had it easy against Man U, despite how crap Man U have been. Now and again, they don't have to do something against Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. They've always been capable. They've just been unreliable. I like their transfer business though. Sesko and Bomo, Cunha, I like it. I rate it a lot. And actually, I actually think this is a good fixture for Man U to kick off with. Because if they were to get something, I think that's good. If they were to win, that would be fantastic. And they could keep on going, starting momentum. Now let's see what you can go and achieve. But it's also a difficult fixture as well. So while I say good, I don't mean easy. I mean good as in, if they lose, it's over and done with, move on to next week. But to get something out of it, it's a feel-good factor into the club immediately. Tough one for Arsenal, though, this one. I don't think Arteta will be keen on having Man U away on his first game. A lot of pressure on them this season. Gyökeres going in there. I still think they need a left winger. I fancy Arsenal to edge it. I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal, because I think while Man U's front three are good on paper, they're still new. They haven't bought an established relationship or anything here. Cunha and Bomo, Sesko have all got to get used to each other. Fernandes has got to get used to them. Dorgu, assuming he plays left wing back, he's got to get used to them. So I think it'll be a good game. I think Man U might put in a good performance. I just think Arsenal feel solid going into this one. And then on Monday night, Leeds United against Everton. I'm pleased Leeds are back. I'm pleased Ellen Road is back in the Premier League. I like it. Although I think this is a bad fixture for Leeds. I think they're lacking players in attack. Calvert-Lewin, opening game of the season against his former club Everton. Haddison, not that I expect him to get on, but could start. Probably won't. But imagine Haddison sets up Calvert-Lewin for the winner against Everton. That would be fun, wouldn't it? But I think this is a difficult fixture for Leeds. I think Leeds have brought in a lot of physical players ready for that side of the Premier League, and that's good. But I think if they're planning on bullying their way to victory, sometimes it will work in some games. This is one of those that just won't work. I think Everton will have the same idea. I think Moyes is a bad manager for Farke to be facing on the opening game of the season. This type of fixture, I think, could be Moyes' bread and butter. Turn up, keep it tight at the back, get something on the break, quieten the home fans down. I think this has just got like a Moyes classic all over it. I'm going to say Leeds United 0, Everton 1. Anyway, there you go. That's my predictions. Ultimately, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen this weekend, but it doesn't mean I don't want to know what you think is going to happen this weekend. So please, as I mentioned at the start of the video, do not be shy. Get involved. I'm not grading you. I'm not scoring you. I'm not going to come back and say, oh, you got none right. The truth of the matter is, between now and kickoff, I care. I'd like to see what you're thinking, what you're feeling. If you've got any comments to make, leave them as well. But once the game's happened, I don't care if you were right or wrong. It doesn't bother me. You're a football fan. That's all you are. You're not claiming to be an expert. You're not claiming that you're going to be right. We're just having a little bit of fun on a 2Bob YouTube channel. Nothing wrong with that. So don't be shy. Get involved in the comments below, and I'll see you in there.